morning. I wish I had such a great turnout for my lectures. Hello, folks. As the lovely compere there said, my name is Devon. Or I should actually say my name is Dr. Devon, except I don't tend to use that. Because in my opinion, it sounds a little bit more like a porn star name. Or like the name of a cleaning product you'd see advertised on daytime television. So I have to start off with making a confession. I'm a little bit embarrassed about this, but I'm actually here under false pretenses. Yes, when the Bright Club team contacted me and they said, hey, what are your research interests? I said, oh, well, they're very wide interests, but at the moment I'm working on Crohn's. And they said, Crohn's, remembering they're largely STEM subject people. They must have thought I meant Crohn's as in disease. What they didn't know is, no, I do Crohn's. I focus on badass postmenopausal women who kick ass and change the world. I'm a specialist in post-colonial literature, so I think I'm like the only humanities person here tonight. So I guess I'm a little bit of a minority, so woo, from all science people! Actually, we're not just a bunch of grammar Nazis, pardon that terrible term. I kind of prefer a different term. I like the term grammando. We're kind of wild about little weird things, not just literature itself. We kind of like punctuation. We like the idea of grammar and using sentences correctly. But I just wanted to highlight to you folks tonight that there is real power in punctuation. This is often unappreciated in our field. Let's think about it. There's only a tiny punctuation mark, a tiny little comma, that little tiny slip of a digit that's between a polite grandchild and a complete psychopath. Stick with me here. Let's imagine it. Let's eat grandma. Come on, let's eat grandma. Hey, I know what I'm cooking tonight. Well, we who are interested in literature have wider interests as well. Personally, though I'm a post-colonial literary specialist, I also love making stuff. As my darling husband, my long-suffering family know, I'm usually making soap or paper or I'm knitting or I'm doing something. But this isn't necessarily away from my professional job as well. I'm head of English over at Solent University. There's actually lots of examples within literature of people who make things. Let's think about it. Well, if we go back to the ancient world, you have Homer. His wife Penelope, his long-suffering wife Penelope, of course, was weaving Laertes' funeral shroud for his future death. We have Molly Weasley in Harry Potter. She knits. We have Tyler Durden and the Space Monkeys in Fight Club. My favorite. What do they make? They make soap. I make soap, but I don't make it the same way they do. I use innocent things like olive oil and apricot oil and lavender essence. No, they use fat that's been extracted from rich women's backsides. Sorry if it's a spoiler. And then they use it to make into really expensive cosmetic soap, which they then sell back to the rich women at a hugely inflated price. It's taking the whole idea of cottage industry and taking it to a whole new level. Well, I mentioned before about the obsessions of academics. I mentioned that we like to make stuff, or at least I do, and then also we're kind of interested in the idea of grammar. But we're also interested in fashion. You might not realize it. You might think, wait a minute, Devon, fashion? Look at those boots, they're covered with mud. Of course, we have chickens in our back garden and bees. So most mornings when I go out to tend to them, I kind of forget to clean my boots afterwards. I come in and my students remind me. But it's not just the students who remind me of my fashion faux pas. It's my dearly beloved husband who makes me stand in front of him each morning before I go to work to check, to make sure I don't have my pants on the outside of my clothes. Of course, I was so nervous before I started tonight that I raced upstairs just to check, to use the facilities, and I thought, thank goodness, pants inside, tick the box. But then I noticed they were inside, but they were backwards. had to be something, didn't it? Well, the thing is that gave me something to read. So I looked at the label, and the label said, made in Britain. I thought, hey, that's all right. That's all right. I like homegrown stuff. I like the idea of supporting local industry. And I thought, this is great. Nothing foreign. And then I sort of remembered, wait a minute, I'm foreign. Whoops. What do you get when you take a Brazilian, 2 Yanks, a Belfast roughy-toughy, let's see, a South African, and a few token Brits? Well, you get the Solent University English department. And yes, folks, we are, as a joyful team, teaching the next generation what it means to be English literature. The highlight of an academic's year is the graduation ceremony. Some of you might have been lucky enough to catch us as we put on our mushroom hats and our peculiarly colored robes, and we make the stately dance across the Guildhall Square. We're very proud, very, very upright. But what, of course, you might notice is I've got tall, poofy hair. Now, I am deeply vain about this poofy hair. In fact, when I was upstairs, I was so glad they had a powered hand dryer, because I could dry the rain out of my poof and make it stick up. I want a 3-incher. It's a little flaccid right now, but we're almost back to 3 inches. Well, when it comes to graduation, though we work so hard to get the right to wear those silly mushroom hats that academics wear, I'm afraid they're really unflattering. And though I wouldn't say I'm vain, I'm pretty scruffy, but I'm vain about my hair. So what I do when no one's looking, before we go out on the stage, I stuff mine full of plastic carrier bags. I think it's a pretty good idea. Makes it tall, I don't get hat hair, it gives me that somehow, that extra few inches, so when I'm waltzing through the Guildhall, I say, oh yeah, look at this height. All is well, except when I go to return my robes to the Ede and Ravenscroft desk in the Guildhall, where these very dignified people from the organization that hires the robes stand and say, Madam, your robe, your hat, thank you. Well, I took off my hat this last time. To my absolute horror, a crumpled plastic carrier bag fell out. Oh, no, there goes my reputation. The worst thing is the chap said, Madam, we would have expected Selfridges at least. It's always great fun teaching. I have a really good time. We have a lot of cultural quirks and also tie up with a few cultural things. I think that I'm a pretty clear communicator. I communicate for a living. So I said to my students, hey, we have a presentation next week. You have an individual presentation. You'll need to get a few things ready. You'll need to produce your PowerPoint slides. You'll need to make sure you're making 3 clear points. And you'll need to provide a handout for each student. Pretty straightforward, yeah? Except next week, one of my international students comes in a little bit late and breathless with her shoulder pushing open the door. And I notice that she's not carrying any photocopied material. Instead, she's carrying dozens of tiny and expensive carrier bags. Handouts for students? She's from a culture where a handout doesn't mean photocopied bits of paper, but a little bit of backsheesh. So yeah, wasn't I embarrassed? Thinking I was speaking clearly, but I realized colloquialisms doesn't work. The final one I'm going to tell you about is some students. A few months ago, it was my birthday coming up. And so I very jokingly said one day, hey folks, I wouldn't mind if you brought in some baked goods for next week, thinking no one's going to pay any attention. Now what do? The next week, one of my beloved students, don't tell them I love them so much, it'll ruin my street cred. They bring in a big tray of beautiful home-baked cupcakes, and I go to take a bite thinking, oh, this is so exciting. I'm so excited about this, and the student says, Dr. Devon, stop! So, what's the matter? I forgot to tell you, those are funny cupcakes. Yeah, all I can say is I am deeply honored that my students trusted me enough to make me cupcakes with herbal additives. But I do have to say, at least in great hope, that we academics are funny enough even without this sort of addition. Thank you for your time. Yeah.